What's up, everybody? My name is Amy, and this is the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. Put your way that you're sitting on top of the world. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. My name is Amy. Welcome to my show. Hope everybody is having a wonderful evening. We got hit with a snow, sleet, rain, freezing temperatures storm here in Arkansas. And so I've just been watching and listening to it sleet and rain now for 2 days. So I am trapped inside and had to cancel my doctor's appointments, which means I had to cancel my nerve burning procedure, and now it'll be put off for another month. So, but you know, that's the way it goes. In my last podcast episode, I talked a little bit about Ann Taylor, who is Bryan Kohberger's public defender. And apparently, at the time that Ann Taylor was either appointed as public defender for Bryan Kohberger, or she signed up to be his public defender. I'm not really sure. I reached out to someone to ask them if they happened to know, but they either did not know or did not want to answer me. I'm not really sure. But anyway, Ann Taylor, at the time that she was, normally public defenders are appointed to people. And I mean, I find it bizarre that at the time of his arrest, that Ann Taylor was currently representing Kara, who is Xana Kernodle's mother, on some drug-related cases, and apparently trying to help her get into rehab. That, you know, she was actually actively currently representing Xana Kernodle's mother at the time of Bryan Kohberger's arrest, who is accused of murdering Kara's daughter, Xana Kernodle, along with her friends, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. And the same public defender gets appointed to the man accused. Like, how does that happen? I mean, I live in a small town, and lived my whole life in a small town. And, most of the lawyers in my hometown and judges, they've all been lawyers forever. They've all been judges forever. And, everybody knows everybody, or everyone's kin to everybody. So, public defenders will get, appointed to people who know each other and are kin to each other. But how in the world does this kind of thing happen? Like, is she the only public defender in that town? It's just crazy to me how in the world this ended up happening. And how the judge, was unaware of it before he or she appointed Ann Taylor to Bryan Kohberger's case. But obviously Ann Taylor knew that she was currently representing one of the victim's parents, and had previously also, come to find out, represented another one of the victims, Madison Mogen, her father and stepmother, on a couple of cases just a year or two ago. She knew at the time that she was appointed to Bryan Kohberger's case. She was aware of the situation, but yet she obviously said nothing. Obviously said nothing to the judge or anything. And, accepted the case. Once you're assigned a case as a public defender, it's kind of hard to get out of it. I know that Kirk Nurmi tried several times to get off Jodi Arias's case to no avail. And so, but even if she wasn't, taken off Bryan Kohberger's case, or he was assigned another public defender or whatever, still, I'm stuttering because it is just absolutely baffling to me. I mean, the attorney who represented me in my divorce, from my oldest daughter's father, she also represented my mother when my mother divorced my stepfather. And I can't imagine that she would, and God was, 30 years ago. I just cannot imagine her accepting a case to defend someone that murdered my daughter. I just can't imagine it. Can't imagine Meredith doing that. But anyway, Ann Taylor, has done it, and she, even hours after Bryan's first appearance in court, when he was came back to Idaho, or went back to, was sent back to Idaho from Pennsylvania, hours after, she filed some kind of paperwork to get Xana's mother's case handed off to another public defender. And, Xana's mother went on the Ashley Banfield show, and she told Ashley Banfield, just how that she was devastated, and how she trusted this woman and thought, this woman was really cared about trying to help her. So, I would be upset too. But, it's just all just so baffling to me, and how cold-blooded it seems. Like, you're currently actively working on this woman's case, and you just drop her like yesterday's trash to take on the man who stands accused of killing her daughter. I'm sorry, that's, in my opinion, that is serious loss of integrity. And apparently Xana's mother has since been arrested again. Apparently when she went on the Ashley Banfield show, she had an active warrant out for her arrest, if I'm understanding things correctly, and she has since been arrested again and is in jail. Addiction is a terrible thing. It's hard for people to kick it, and you tend to commit other crimes in order to, get your fix, such as, robbing people, stealing from people, writing hot checks, or stealing someone's credit card, or breaking into people's houses, and, you'll do anything to get your fix. And, this poor woman needs help, and she has, now lost her daughter. And I don't know what the relationship was like between her and Xana, but apparently, even though this woman had her own problems and issues, her kids were doing fairly well for themselves on their own, and making a good life for themselves on their own, despite the situation they were born into with their parents. But the reason why this bothers me so bad is that even though Bryan has not been convicted of killing Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, if he is convicted, I'm concerned about future appeals, and that, he could very easily get his sentence overturned. And in my last live, I spoke about an old case here in Arkansas. A friend of mine, whose ex-boyfriend killed her back in 1990. He got the death penalty in her death, and he managed to get his death sentence overturned. He is still serving life in prison, but he did manage to get off death row and get his death sentence overturned because of a conflict of interest with his attorney. Now, the situation is quite a bit different. In this situation, this attorney, John Wesley Hall, he's a very well-known criminal defense attorney here in Arkansas. He was hired. He was not appointed to Daryl and Robbie. He was actually hired by Daryl's wife at the time. And anyway, he was hired and represented both Daryl and Robbie, who were charged with the capital murder of Laurie Brown. And John Wesley Hall ended up encouraging Robbie because Robbie was just there and present. He didn't actually kill Laurie Ann. He convinced Robbie to plead guilty to hindering apprehension and testify against his brother. He turned state's evidence against his brother, Daryl. And Daryl, of course, was found guilty. And after the trial, the charges of hindering apprehension were actually dropped on Robbie. So Robbie never did any time for anything. And in several of his appeals, you know, Daryl brought up several, points and stuff on his appeals and whatnot. And I went back through some of his appeal stuff in the last couple of days, which brought up a lot, terrible memories, because I sat through that trial with Laurie's family. I've known her family since I was 3 years old. And so I sat through that trial, supporting Laurie's family. And I haven't seen all that stuff or read all that stuff, since the trial. And rereading all that stuff again, just re-traumatizes you and everything, because this was a very brutal murder. Laurie was actually pregnant at the time that she was killed by her ex-boyfriend Daryl. And after that, our former governor, Mike Huckabee, passed a law in Laurie's honor that if you kill a woman who is pregnant, you can be charged with double homicide. Daryl was only charged with Laurie's homicide, but he did receive a capital murder charge, which is the highest charge you can get here in the state of Arkansas. Anyway, but that's just my concern about this situation with Bryan Kohberger, is that now we don't know yet if he's going to get the death penalty or life in prison, but irregardless of what sentence he gets, this conflict of interest with Ann Taylor in the in this situation where she has been two of these victims' attorneys, that it could cause future grounds for appeals for Bryan Kohberger if he is convicted in the Idaho Four Case. So, I just, I don't know if if Ann Taylor just has no integrity, if she has know, just doesn't care, or if she's maybe looking for, a little fame in this situation, since this is such a high profile case. But gosh, I couldn't imagine um, this situation happening. And, like I said, it concerns me about future, appeals and stuff in this case. So, um, I wanted to talk a little bit about another recent episode that I did, discussing whether or not I was going to stay on YouTube. It's been a long, hard struggle here on YouTube, trying to create have a successful podcast. And, when I came to YouTube, I had no idea that the environment here in the so-called true crime community was so toxic and nasty. And I've struggled now for a year trying to build a channel, and it's just been a really tough road. And I really, at the end of the day, just don't think that YouTube is the right place for me. As you can see, I'm stumbling over my words right now, trying to even do this podcast episode, because the situation has just bothered me so bad. And I'm a little stubborn about learning my lesson and remembering to always go with my gut instinct. And so sometimes you have to beat the hell out of me more than once for me to learn my lesson. And it's sad, that I mean, I think it's sad that I have to learn the lesson out here that, not only YouTube, but just this world, that, people have changed. The atmosphere of people have changed over the last several years, and people only care about themselves now. They don't care about anybody but themselves. And that's exactly how the YouTube community is. Everyone just cares about themselves. They don't care about anybody else. They don't care about who they hurt. They don't care about who they have to shit on. They don't care. All they can care about is their money, their clicks, their views, their, everything. This is just not a healthy environment. It's a very toxic environment, and it's like going back to high school. And for me, it's just been like being back in high school with kids worse than the ones I did really go to high school with. So, I just, have really come to the strong conclusion that that YouTube maybe isn't the right place for me, because I don't care about getting involved in any of the drama or getting mixed up in any of it, and I damn sure don't care anything about trying to compete with it and trying to compete with trashy channels and clip channels and people that just sit around and gossip about each other and dox each other and just do horrible, horrible things to each other, call CPS on each other and stuff like that. And, I have made several attempts to, befriend people here on YouTube, and try to get to know people, and maybe even collaborate with other people, but it's just you know not not a good place. And I have over the last 8 years or so, I have walked away from a lot of people um, who have hurt me and done, horrible things to me and treated me like garbage. And, I've just silently walked away from those people. And some of those people have been my own family members, just because I got tired of, being hurt. And I chose to just walk away. I walked away from my best friend of over 20 years. And, I'm just, it's not good for me mentally to be in a toxic environment like this, and trying to compete with it, and trying to do something successful, such as discuss true crime cases in an environment that is not even really true crime. Yes, I know you want it. I don't know why you won't back out in that rain and cold and sleet, but go on with your bad self. Go. Cat's wanting out. But anyway, so I don't know yet what I'm going to do, but I do know that I'm going to take some time away from YouTube and all this, and decide what I want to do. I have been learning some very valuable lessons this past week, and I've unfortunately had to learn a hard lesson that no matter how much you try to be kind to people, how much you try to uh, reach out to people, be supportive of people, and things like that, that you're just not going to get that same courtesy and support in return. Not here, not on YouTube, not in this environment. So, and honestly, you're not going to get it anywhere. At least I don't. I don't get it anywhere. I've I've supported and been kind to, and done a lot of things for people over the years, and in return, I just got treated like shit, and I'm just tired of it. So and apparently, no matter how hard I try to keep giving people the benefit of the doubt, and how hard I keep trying to think that there are still good people out there, unfortunately there's not. So, but that's all I have for this evening. And everyone's doing great. And like I said, this will probably be my last video for a while. And just want to say so long and take care.